Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds. Lawrence?
Get ready for a show that's back from 2010, people. I'm your host, DJ Sexy Lips, bringing you episode 29 of new Retrocore classic gaming music. That's right, after looking over this playlist here I made, I realized it's in blocks like normal, but the first one's PSP, the second's Wii, and the third is DS. So if we threw in some, PS3 and Xbox 360, it'd be 2010 up in here. Back when Retrocore first started, so kind of cool. First up, we're going to get into the PSP, like I said, and if you know the Prinny games, then you're a pretty cool dude. DOOD. That first track there, Night at the Opera from Prinny, Can I Really Be the Hero? All these were from the PSP, the PlayStation Portable. If you were too young to know what that is, yeah, PlayStation was in the handheld game. And no, not the Portal, but it is a handheld, but I'm rambling. Then we had Soaring, Turbulence, Stage 2 from Star Soldier on the PSP. This is going to be fun. Detanatb 003, Twinbee Portable. And then we had Stage 1 theme, Ultimate Ghost and Goblins on the PSP. Those are all pretty good games. A couple of those are old games, Star Soldier, Twinbee, and Ultimate Ghost and Goblins. Actually, they're all older games that were ported on the PSP or remade. And, you know, there was just a good time for remakes and new games in general. Like, we got a new Rocket Knight in that time. We did get a horrible Turtles in Time remaster that's disappeared from the face of Earth, thank God. I don't think you can buy it anywhere. You'd have to emulate it, but that Turtles in Time remake was not good. So coming up next, we are going to get into the Wii, and we got one coming up from a Wiiware title called Blaster Master Overdrive. So we had Area 2 Blaster Master Overdrive on the Wii, which was a Wiiware game. Then we had Contest Menu, Check Me Out channel. That's a throwback. Everyone loves the Wii music. I did, myself included. It baffles me that Nintendo don't do system music for like the Switch, Switch 2, or even themes. What the hell, Nintendo? What are you doing? But yeah, back when they did system music on the Wii, I mean, everybody loved that stuff, and there's some for you. Then we had Stardust Road, Super Mario Galaxy, and lastly, Alpine Peaks, Donkey Kong Barrel Blast. I always thought that was like a motion control game where you like, I don't know, you jumped around from barrel to barrel and shit, but no, it's a kart racer, so that was kind of cool. Coming up next, it's time for the DS, my favorite personal handheld ever. The DS, that was a good time in my life. I had a lot of extra income, and I just bought DS games left and right, only for over half of them to get stolen. And of course, like, they are the too expensive to buy again today, like Chrono Trigger and among others. But one I did get cheap here in town once. I still have it for like $2. Starfy. Yeah, didn't come here. Good platformer, and that's what we're going to get into. I'm your host, DJ Sexy Lips, rambling too damn much. all them there tunes you just heard was from the double screens. That's an inside joke between friends. We all know it stands for dual screens, but my one friend said, no, it's double screens. And I mean, I guess he's not wrong. Dual, double, I don't know. But Tree of Beginning City, Densetsu no Starfy 4 on the DS. Again, that didn't come here in America. It might be on the Switch stuff. I don't keep up with that. You know me, I don't agree with Nintendo renting us ROMs, so. And then we got Meadow Breeze Plains Area, Kirby Mass Attack on the DS, followed by Background Music 2, Puzzle Bobble DS, or Bubble Bobble DS here in America, and lastly, Whose Woods 1, Super Princess Peach on the DS, double screens. That is a very good platformer. I've played one track before in the past. That's one of those games, like, along with Mario World, I'll return to once a year and just go through it because they're pretty easy and I know them by heart. So yeah, Super Princess Peach, fantastic platformer if you did not know. Coming up next, it's time for Mandatory Sonic, and like that Super Nintendo remix time, I'm doing something different. These are all from the Sonic 2 on the Game Gear, but it's the 8-bit Piano Redux album. I have a link to download that album yourself in the description. So yeah, all these next 4 Sonic tracks are from Sonic 2 on the Game Gear, but they are redone piano style. Yeah, piano, sexy time. I'm your host, DJ Sexy Lips. So yeah, there you go. Just to switch up mandatory Sonic a bit, because it's the same old Sonic tunes. I try to switch it up sometimes, and that again, these are all from the Sonic 2 8-bit Piano Redux album. Link in the description. Go download those and be cool. We had Underground Zone, followed by Sky High Zone, then Green Hill Zone, and lastly Aqua Lake Zone. All from Sonic 2 on the Game Gear, with the music again, Piano Redux. Coming up next, we're getting close to the end of the show. It's time for Double Then and Now. But the thing with this Then and Now is a little different. Yes, the first one is an OCremix, but last week I like to watch Pat the NES Punk stream on Wednesday nights, Twitch. I guess this is kind of a plug, even though he don't need it. But he been a long time gamer in the community for a decade or more now. Him and Ian, I've always supported him. Ian does house music on Twitch the following Thursday night, and I like house music, so I listen to that. But Pat streams old retro commercials and bullshits with the crowd, you know, and it's fun. I ran into MissCoriel, I don't know how to pronounce your name, and they do music on SoundCloud. So again, the first one will be an OCremix with the link in the description, and then we're gonna do some music from MissCoriel because I got her permission to do that, and I really like it. So I hope you all do too. And there you have it, Double Then and Now, and finally Chrono Trigger reappearing on the show. I haven't played much Chrono Trigger music, because, well, I capture the footage myself, and RPG footage is really hard to do because sometimes you gotta get far into the game to hear some of this music, so sometimes the gameplay footage will match, sometimes it won't, sometimes I'll just be like, screw it, I'm just gonna record me playing the game or whatever. If the area don't match the music, oh well. But then we had Corridors of Time from Chrono Trigger on the Super Nintendo, followed by Zeal Love, OCremix by Unipulator, and a link in the description to download that. That's an old OC remix, back from like 2003. So yeah, I told y'all that site's been around since like 1999. Pretty good stuff. Then we had good old The Moon from DuckTales on the Nintendo, followed by MissCoriel's version, The Moon from DuckTales. Again, I really like it. Her music doesn't qualify for OC remix because, you know, it's not really a remix. It's more of a one-for-one remake of that song. Just, it sounds a lot better to me. And I'm sure you too. So yeah, thank you very much for letting me play your music. We're getting into, this is the end of the show. It's where I pick my personal pick. And I'm going to pick another one from her, MissCoriel. Thank you so much. There is a link in the description to her SoundCloud. She has a YouTube. Go to those places and follow them. I picked MegaMan 3, her Cutman stage. So yeah, thank you again so much. Thank you again for everyone who listens, who shares, who lets me share in their chat. Ian lets me promote the show in his chat on Thursday nights. It's pretty cool. Thank you for that. It's helped me get some subs and friends. And yeah, I am your host, DJ Sexy Lips, and this has been episode 29 of New Retrocore Classic Gaming Music.